get so mad sometimes thinking about what a fool I was, listening to that man tell me how sexually limited I was. And what's worse than that, I believed him. Can you imagine that? I actually believed him. Why? Because I was in love, that's why. I was so in love, I would do anything that man asked. After all, we were married, had been intimate. So when he told me that I wasn't satisfying him in the way that he needed to be satisfied, I felt bad. I even apologized. And he said it wasn't my fault. It was because of the way I was brought up and the society that I come from. That I just wasn't sophisticated in those areas. That was all. Well, I didn't know what to say. Maybe he was making sense. I mean, he had been around overseas and all, and I hadn't been anywhere. So when he told me there was an art to making love and a refined way of doing it, I went along with it and said I wanted to learn. So we tried a few things, and he said I was adequate, that I needed to lose my inhibitions and just let myself go. And when I asked him what he meant by that, because I thought I was doing what he wanted, he said we needed another person in the bedroom with us. Another woman who could kind of lead the way and show me how things were done. And can you believe? I agreed. That's right. I agreed to let another woman join my husband and me in our matrimonial bed. Her name was Cody, and you could hardly call her a woman, more like a grown-up child. I mean, she couldn't have been more than 20 or 21. And when I asked him how they met, he said she worked at an insurance company as some kind of clerk or something. And when I mentioned how young she looked, he said, "Don't let that fool you. She's a very knowledgeable person, and you can learn a lot from her." Now, the idea was we would have dinner, get to know each other a little bit, then get down to the real reason why she was here. So I cooked a meal, and Stanley helped a lot. And when she got here, the girl looked kind of shy. So Stanley went through all kinds of efforts to make her feel at ease. And so did I. But all through dinner, I just had this nagging feeling that this wasn't right. And no matter how hard I tried to bury it, it just kept coming back. Finally, I just had to tell Stanley that I couldn't go through with it. I mean, I wanted to do it because of him, but I just couldn't. And that was that. Well, he looked at me like I had just spit in his face or something. And he said, "Well, what am I supposed to tell her? She made a lot of effort to come here and make herself available. What am I supposed to say now? I'm sorry, no go." I said I would tell her. And he said, "Fine. And when you do, make sure to apologize for being such a tight ass." I don't know why, but that word did it. It was like I just blew up, like I exploded. It was like I was some kind of volcano holding all this in, and then it finally just erupted. Because from out of nowhere, I just started shouting and throwing things, whatever came to hand. A lamp, a saucer, a glass, a wine bottle, some magazines, candles, books, masks that we had on the wall, and Stanley's shoes that were in the corner. I mean, anything that fell within my sight, I grabbed and I threw. And that girl, Cody or whatever her name was, she wasn't as dumb as she looked. Because as soon as that glass started flying, she made for the door and she was gone. Now it was just me and Stanley there, and he's talking about, cool it, baby. What's the matter? Let's talk about this. Whatever the problem is, we'll resolve it. The problem is you, you son of a bitch, I said. I can't believe you brought that little girl over here to belittle me like that. I am going to murder you. You hear me? Right now, right in this house, I am going to kill your black ass. Now, of course, I didn't mean it, but I was so damn mad and maybe a little crazed too. And I picked up this ashtray, this big glass thing that we kept on the coffee table, and I threw it at him. Not aiming at any particular part of him. I just threw it in his direction. And I guess he didn't move fast enough because it cracked him right upside his head. And he fell on the floor talking about, oh, Jesus, I'm dead, I'm dead. And there was blood just pouring from all over on the carpet. I didn't know what to do, so I called 911 and told him, come quick, I've murdered my husband. Well, he wasn't dead. He was just lying on the floor, moaning and crying, talking about how I cracked open his skull. When the police and the ambulance got there, they looked him over and said it wasn't that bad, but that he did have a concussion. And he had a cracked rib. When they asked me if I had kicked him when he was down, I told them, yes. I was arrested, taken down to the precinct, and kept overnight. The next morning when I saw the judge and he asked me what was my provocation for the outburst, I told him the whole story. And then I said, Your Honor, I know I'm not innocent, but I don't think I'm guilty either. Just put yourself in my shoes. And you will see I had just cause. Well, he must have agreed with me because he let me off with a fine and a suspended sentence and a warning never to kick anybody when they're down. And I said I wouldn't. And that was that. Stanley is fine. Would you believe he tried to get back together with me? And when I told him no, he said he was sorry, that he really loved me, and that he was just looking out for my well-being. And you want to know something? I believe him. That's how messed up I am.